Red Sox stats, I think, has been spot on with the negativity. It has not been a smidge too far. It has been exactly correct. This tweet from Stats. Red Sox starting pitchers are allowing 2.9 home runs per 9 innings. Next worst is Oakland starters at 2.48 home runs per 9. League average for starting pitchers is 1.25 home runs allowed per 9 innings. The Rays starters, this number is silly. This number is goofy, Joe. Rays starters have allowed 0.27 home runs per 9 innings. That's not per start. That's per like 2 starts. That's
it's like 1 every 8 games. Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. So here's a couple of things. One, the Sox starters are allowing more than double the average amount of home runs per 9. That is, I mean, almost 3 times, right?
Teams.
It's like 2.5 times.
Crap teams, Joe. That's not even just the good guys.
The Pirates.
The A's.
That's so bad, bro. Did you say the A's?
The A's.
We didn't play the A's.
I'm saying it includes you're double the league average, and that league average has some of the worst pitching staffs like ever. So and you're now like in that mix. Like
aren't they the top? Because like the way that tweet is worded implies that the Sox are
with this stat they're the worst.
Best.
With this stat they're the worst. I'm saying where the league average is at, you're like you mentioned, it's double. It's even more than double, right? 2.5 would be double the league average. You're 2.9 home runs allowed per 9 by your starters.
And it feels
double
like it
league average.
Blah, blah.
3 homers per 9 by your starters? I get it more by Ort and Brazier and Zach Kelly, and I feel terrible for Kelly, but
we'll talk about that.
We'll get to that. But still, I mean, it's embarrassing. And it's a rotation that shame on you if you really thought this rotation was going to get the job done. Like and I'm not just looking at Middlebrooks. I know he was in the replies, but like this rotation was not going to big picture. And I understand in theory, it can only get better from here in theory. But still,
that's some hindsight, bro. I'm going to call you on that because there's no way you thought.
No, you can't. The one thing I've had my foot down on is this rotation is not going to get the job done. Wait, Joe, you can't be serious. That's all I would say frequently all offseason.
There's no way you can tell me with a straight face you expected it to be this bad. That Kluber was going to look like this.
Give up 3 homers.
Sale was going to look like this.
Kluber hasn't even been terrible. Kluber should have stayed in there on Thursday. He could have had 2 earned today through 5, which is like a really good start for a Red Sox starter right now.
For a Red Sox starter, that's pretty damn good. That's
like a complete game shutout.
That's a quality Red Sox start.
But Joey, the one thing I've been most consistent about is that this starting rotation is not going to be good enough. It's not going to cut it.
I think we all expected the back end was going to be weird and crowded and cluttered. I don't think we expected Sale, Kluber, and
yeah.
You expected Sale to be
not to be having 11-2-5.
Maybe not this rusty, but you expected him to like not be able to be like a viable part of the pitching staff right out of the gate.
If you gun to my head, water balloon over my head.
Yeah.
And we can pull up the preseason episodes. I don't know what the timestamps are, but if you want to go through those, like there's no chance I was super optimistic or even optimistic about this starting rotation. Like I remember us saying in the preview, it's like you're going to need all these question marks to become exclamation points and to really become something that you can stand behind. And there's no way. I mean, at this point, Brian Bayo is going to have to like legitimately be Pedro Martinez for this rotation to be decent. Like I know we can talk about the healthy stuff, and Whitlock's made 1 start and he was decent to start and then gave up the bombs. The Rays are hitting more home runs than anybody. I understand. I'm not just doing the hindsight thing and acting like the sky is falling right now, but all we have to go off of is the 13 games they've played, and this rotation sucks. It's like the worst in the bigs, and there's no real reason to think it's going to get a whole lot better.
That's why I can't put any faith in Bayo. I would love to. I'm excited to see him pitch, but I absolutely can't hang anything on him. Can't put any expectations around him, bro. It's just another opportunity to get hurt.
Wishful thinking. I think the only thing, if we're trying to stay sane right now with this Sox rotation, we need to have high hopes for Bayo because there's nothing else we can do. What do you think Chris Sale, if right now, water balloon over your
I don't
head,
know.
Joe.
I don't want to answer this yet.
Water balloon over your head.
No.
What do you think Chris Sale's numbers are going to look like just by the All-Star break? By July at this rate?
5s?
Yeah,
ERA in
probably
the
5s,
5s.
maybe
Yeah.
6s. And I know wins and losses don't really matter, but there's a chance he has like 2 or 3 wins by the All-Star break. Like that's what we're looking at
I mean,
right now. If he
I
even
think
makes
it
the
totally
starts.
depends. It totally depends because, like, I don't know if we should dive into the Sale talk, bro, because I don't know if his stuff is fixable. Like, I know that's a massive overreaction, but like, what he's doing and what he's missing are bad. Like, his stuff doesn't have the break it used to. He doesn't have the control over his fastball. He's missing high with it. Like, his changeup isn't dropping the way it used to, and he can't find the zone. And when he does, it's a total duck. So,
Yeah.
I mean, those are bad problems, and that's like old dog new trick kind of problems, which is exactly kind of what's going on with Kluber, because Kluber's showing signs of problems that he's never had. He's has terrible control. He's walking more than he ever has. He's throwing more balls than he ever has in any stretch of his career, even though it's, it's 3 starts, it's whatever. But I had trouble finding a 3-game stretch in which he had as many walks as he's had in his first 3 Red Sox starts. That's old dog new tricks problems, dude. That is a guy who relies on control and spotting his pitches going into his twilight years is really not a recipe for success. And that's not something you just correct and go back to. It's really, really hard to not pull the alarm bells after 3 starts with both of those guys for me.
No, I mean, you obviously, there's no real reason to be optimistic right now. Kluber, and maybe Joey, put this in the dumb eye test category.
All right.
Jot this one down.
I'll pull up my.
He looks like such a responsible person. He looked like when he's on the mound, I'm like, you know what you're doing. I know you know what you're doing. You don't even have to tell me you've won 2 Cy Youngs. You are a responsible father that is out there that I actually trust. Every time I see him, I trust him.
He looks like a hitting coach, bro. I don't see that. I think he looks like
I'm
he looks
saying
like
how he
staff.
carries himself. He's very composed, and I'm like, all right, I kind of expect this to go well. And all things considered, this wasn't a terrible start today. I mean, he ends up getting some runs tacked on because Richie B comes in, and that's when everything collapsed there in the 5th inning. They end up giving up 7 runs when you should have left that inning likely up 3-2. Franco's scoring. It's like, whatever. You still got a lead. It doesn't really matter. They pull Kluber with 2 outs, and then it all goes terribly. So with Sale, though, I want to stick on Sale because, and I know I said just the last episode of like, we got to give him a little bit of time. Joey, what you mentioned is exactly the biggest concern. You can give someone all the time in the world. If their stuff looks really bad, like it's one thing if it's like bad luck, and the home run he gave up to Arozarena would have likely been an out in like half the parks. It would have been gone in half, and it was up in the air for a while, so it likely would have been caught for. I mean, Verdugo catches that ball if he has any more space there. Shame on the kid that dropped it. You bring your glove. That was the easiest home run to catch ever. You drop it. You stink, kid. All Rays fans stink. But I can't get past what you're saying and get past what we're seeing, which is 20 pitches per inning this season for Sale. 20 pitches per inning.
Wow.
That is not sustainable for a guy that's made hitters look silly in the past. And I understand a strikeout guy is typically going to throw some more pitches because it takes pitches to get strikeouts. To get strikeouts. If you're going to get strikeouts, you got to throw more pitches. I get that. But with Sale, and it's last couple starts in Detroit and at the Trop, he seemed to settle down a little bit as the start's gone on. The worst pitches and the worst control has been earlier in the outings. Not trying to be silver lining Steve here, but that's just the fact. But Joey, first 3 innings there, it's like, I don't think he knew where the ball was going.
No.
He's letting it go, and you just look at McGuire. Look at where the glove is.
He doesn't hit his spots very often, bro.
Like ever.
And he misses them all in the same spot too. Like the slider isn't breaking as much. Like he's missing that right. The changeup, he's missing high. And the fastball, he's missing high. It's like clockwork that he's just not locating all 3 in the exact same way.
And let's be real. Reese McGuire is not like Christian Vasquez. He's not trying to deke hitters. Reese McGuire sets up where the ball is supposed to go. All right. And props to McGuire, by the way. He's hitting like 350 with the Red Sox.
I like that you just like ragged him, and then we're like, oh, and by the way, props to him.
I'm just saying style of catcher. He's not like your fancy. He's not He's not a Yadi Molina. Tap the glove over here, move over here. Reese McGuire is a pretty standard catcher behind the plate. Very below standard when it comes to throwing out runners. Still has not thrown somebody out this year. But I had I got to give him. He's hitting 350 for the Red Sox. That needs to be mentioned. But still, I say that to say it's like, dude, it's really pitch and catch, and I know it's easy for us to say on our couch, eating Dorito. They got these new small Cool Ranch Doritos, these little ones,
mini ones.
Yeah, they're in like a Pringles type can, and it's like the little triangles, and those go down easy, Joe. So I'm eating those during the sale start.
Right.
I'm like, all right, it's
like
a win-lose.
In a bowl of milk, like their cereal.
Yeah, exactly. I was eating these Doritos in a bowl of milk, and at least that made the sale start a little more bearable, is what I'm getting at. But it's just sucked. I mean, you look at his Savant. We talk about Savant, Joe. We talk about chili Savants, right? It is burr cold on Chris Sale's baseball Savant.
Oh, I want to check it out.
It's very. I
was going to say the eye test for Sale is weird because sometimes ignore that. Sometimes it is chilly. Sometimes it looks like his slider snaps.
Yeah.
And there are still times where I go, ooh, he's got it. Especially like his first start, like before he was really getting shelled. I was like, okay, all right. Like we're seeing Chris Sale again. It's always early in his starts that there'll be one or two sliders that look like vintage Chris Sale sliders.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until I saw the Savant graphs that I was like, oh man, that's those are not doing what they used to do, huh?
It's not the
looking
guy,
at his main Savant page, dude. I mean, he's
not
not above the 50th percentile in anything other than strikeout percentage and whiff percentage. Everything else, he's a below average pitcher by the advanced metrics.
And those are like bailout Ks, right? Like that's when you've given up a homer. That's when there's a guy on. That's like when a lot of the strikeouts so far this year are when damage has already been done.